Hello, everybody. How you guys doing today? I'm a little quieter, so I'm going to turn my volume up a bit, I think, here. Um, the puking clip is gnarly. Yeah, absolutely. Um, I would agree with that. Okay, that's the other thing. Okay, we are going to take a look real quick at this. Am I cropping things? I am. Let's do that. Boom. I'm less cropped now. Fantastic. Well, I'm going to turn off my echo over here because I already know that my audio is working. How are you guys doing on this wonderful, beautiful Sunday? I'm going to maybe add like a little bit of a 9 dB gain here. What is that? Yeah, it sounds fine. Hey guys, how you guys doing on this wonderful Sunday afternoon? Today we're going to be live streaming, finishing up that Up house from PIXAR's Up. We've done quite a bit on it. We've already done all the 3D modeling basically for it. We did, some geometry nodes as well to create all the balloons and everything like that. And then we did some shading, some very basic shading so far. But now we're going to finish up the shading today and then render and comp it all inside of Nuke. And it's going to be great. I'm very excited about finishing it up. Guys, we hit 5,000 subscribers. How amazing is that? Thank you guys so much. I think I had it pop up in my memories 2 years ago, 500 subscribers, or I think it was last year, it was 500 subscribers. After this week, you're just done with the small little projects. I got it done with compositing a fire scene. Dude, that's great. Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. So 5,000 is crazy. 5,000 is a lot of subscribers. I remember kind of like telling myself when I started, I was like, wow, once you hit over 1,000, that's like a lot of subscribers. Now we're at 5. That's insane. Thank you guys so much for following along and helping bring this or let this happen, I suppose. I'm very grateful that we have this going here, and yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a great year. There's a lot coming up, a lot coming up. Next Sunday, I'm gonna be live on Fox, talking about Bad Omen and some other future projects that I have coming up. So in like the future of filmmaking, what does that entail for new directors and new filmmakers that are trying to make their way in the industry? In today's day and climate. So I will post that when I do get those clips over on here on the YouTube as well. But that's something I'm really looking forward to. And then my film is screening next Saturday at the Chandler International Film Festival. So if you guys are in the kind of like Phoenix, Arizona area and you want to watch a really cool monster film, you can go check it out. Tickets to that, I don't have them on hand right now, but if you look up Chandler International Film Festival, it'll pop up and you can get tickets there. Yeah. So this is a big week. I am going to try to live stream next week. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet, but I'm going to bring my stuff with me. I will stream. I just don't know when I'll stream as far as the time will be concerned, but I will stream next week. It's going to be great. Before we get on to it, if you guys would like the project files for what we've created so far on this Up live streams, as well as all of the other live streams I've ever done, link to that is in the description below. It's over on the Patreon. You can find the project files there, as well as every project file we've ever done. And actually, currently the only online copy of Bad Omen is over there as well, because I took off Bad Omen from my YouTube channel just while we're doing some more festivals and stuff like that. But a huge special shout out and thanks to these wonderful Patreon subscribers right here that help make this YouTube channel happen and really give me the, the courage to keep going forward. But yeah, all right, guys, I think we're going to jump back into it. Today, we're finishing up our Up house, which has been a really cool series. A lot of fun. I've wanted to do this house for a while. Like I wanted to create it in Blender, and this was a great opportunity to do it. And I really love it. But here's what we've got so far. This is the house that we've created inside of Blender. It's you should make a video on how to get started on making a short film, going into the process of planning and what concessions you have to make depending on what you have available. That, that's a really good topic. And it is actually something that I'm going a little bit more into because I'm doing pre-production right now on 2 short films. Last night I even had a meeting with a guy who I am going to have as my VFX supervisor on those short films. And actually I have a phone call after this live stream is over with my DP. So I will try to document more of it. I'm really bad about filming behind the scenes as I'm going along. It's something that I got to get better at. But you're totally right. Just move that up right there. Okay, so this is the house we've got so far, and as you can see, we're well on our way. I mean, today's not going to be a crazy stream. Today we're kind of just finishing things up, polishing it, putting it together. We have all the texturing on the house to do right now, but after that, I mean, we could just hit the render button and take it to comp, so we will be compositing this over inside of Nuke. That is the goal and plan that we have in motion. But with that being said, we do need to finish this up over in the 3D first. Now, we did create everything over here in Blender. So we have this as our setup. And if you guys go watch the previous live streams, you'll see how all of this stuff works. But we're basically using a geometry node that converts this shape right here into our balloons. And it's doing it by using some simple techniques inside of the geometry nodes layout. And I will just briefly go over that as a recap. But we are taking our mesh object here, our input of our geometry. And first we will be distributing points on the faces. And then we will also be converting it simultaneously into a volume. And then distributing points within inside of that volume, controlling the density within inside of that volume. Sorry, I'll get my thing out of the way there. So we are doing distributing points on the faces, which is the outside of your object, as well as converting it into a volume and then distributing points within inside of that volume. And then essentially we're just both instancing on points our balloons that we created, which was a simple 3D model. And then we set the scaling to that as well. And then boom, join the geometry together. And then we set the material in the end. And then once you do that, once you enable it, you've got balloons everywhere, which is pretty great. And then last week, what we did was inside of our shader editor, we created a special material that took the object info random. So for every single random ID that it would receive, we would create different color balloons. The random value gives a random color black and white image or white to black image of 0 to 1 essentially. And we just converted that 0 to 1 into different colors with a sharp constant cutoff point. And then, yeah, simple materials here. We could probably delete this as well, but it's just a simple principled BSDF that we throw over into our material output here. And voila, you've got yourself some balloons. So that should catch us up to where we're at. Just the 3D modeling of our object, our instance balloon that we have here. As you can see, it's instancing it all the balloons over top of the house as well. And then now we just have to do all of the texturing and shading. For our world settings, we are just setting a strength of 2 to a HDRI that we found over on HDRI Haven. I think that pretty much catches up with everything that we have to do here, guys. Am I missing anything? I don't think so. I don't think I'm missing anything. Maybe just my mind. I'm missing my mind, but that's about it. But yeah, let's go ahead and do the texturing on this house here. I'm going to pull up a reference image. I think that would be very useful for us. We're going to do all of our shading. I think we just need to figure out where we want to do this. So let's go ahead and first of all, I'll put myself on the bottom over here. And then secondly, I'm going to open up a image editor, and I think we could just load in our 2009 PIXAR film reference photo. Okay. Now we've got ourselves a reference photo over here. I'm going to join this. So now we're just using the shader editor. We have our render view over here, and then we've got our reference of what we are trying to go for right here. I think that is ideal how we want everything to be set up. And without a further ado, let's get to it, guys. First first most. That's not even English. The thing is that we've got going on here is a couple problems. First of all, our house is one gigantic object, which is okay, but it's going to make it a little more challenging for when we're like, hey, we would just want to shade like specific objects. Now we got to do UVs, we got to select faces and things like that, which is not the worst thing in the world, but it will make it a little more difficult to select everything here. Probably do face selection going on right now. And let's just go over into our solid view. Okay, it's all pretty great. We do have all of these exterior kind of slats. This will be the same color as the materials below it. But I think what we really want here is just the bottom of our house, which we can go ahead and select. I think with face selection on, just select everything like this. That'll give us the bottom of our house, although we are missing that as well. So let's see. Probably want to do everything from here down. So now that's just the bottom of our house. And we're going to create a new material rather than changing this. We'll just call this white for right now, just so it's a helpful, we might use that later for the trim, but like honestly, we also might change this to be the yellow of the house just because everything is selected on that yellow right now. Let's go ahead and create a whole new material here. And this new material, and I might even just, for sake of, it doesn't matter if I'm over the reference, let's just put me back at the top up there. Now, let's create a whole new material for this, and let's call this house wood bottom. I'll just call it house bottom. Call it house bottom. That should be totally fine. And now what we really want to do is create kind of like this wood texture that is down there. Now, there's a few different ways we could do this. We could just straight up use foundations. That's great. We'll call it foundation. Like my brain was not clicking on that. Thank you, Baragon Productions, for giving me that right away. Let's go to Polyhaven, and then let's go grab some textures. What we're going to want is some wood, because this foundation of the house is going to be made up of some pretty gnarly wood. So let's go ahead and find something. We could use weathered brown planks or worn planks here. Probably worn planks might be ideal for us. Yeah, I think we're gonna go with that. So I do like this worn planks here because it's got some different color variation with inside of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and download this to our stream folder. Go ahead and download it to our assets, and I'm gonna, and we'll put it under 3D and texture, just to keep things organized. Let's go ahead and save that in there, and we'll go ahead and unzip it and everything like that. So from here, we should do 7-zip. I'm just going to extract it to its folder. And we'll grab these textures. I think we want the diffuse over here. Probably the displacement as well as our normals. And we'll grab the roughness as well. We'll see how well everything kind of like lines up here. I'm just going to add the diffuse. I like texturing. It's fun. You're not good at it, but it's fun. I mean, I don't know. Can anyone? I don't know. I don't know if you could be bad at texturing though. I feel like it's just a thing that you do, and maybe that just means that I'm not good at it. If I don't think it's something that you could be bad at, maybe I am just bad and I don't realize that there are scales to these things. All right, that's our normals, that's our roughness, that's our diffusion. I guess I did not grab displacement. Let's grab that guy in here, and you're going to be in the displacement field, but I'm going to convert you to bump first. Now, if we go ahead and check out our material here, you'll see that it looks a lot more realistic. I'm going to hit assign while we have everything selected on the bottom of our house. And now if we just go to our render view, let's go ahead and see how that looks. You stick a texture and call it a day, but some people go above and beyond putting variation. Oh, well, yeah, I guess it really kind of depends. Like, I might end up doing variation to my stuff, but yeah. All right, I'm going to take this and do smart UV projection first of all, and then just kind of see where that puts us. If I go ahead and zoom in on this, you'll see that the size of the planks are not correct. So what we're going to need to do is add in on our diffuse here. Let's add in a texture coordinate as well as a mapping node. And we're going to pipe this directly into all of the vector slots of every material that we imported. And what this will allow us to do is actually control the size of the texture that we're importing. And we could do that through this scale here. Now, I like to just plug a value node into the scale because then it'll adjust the X, Y, and Z all at the same time. And by default, everything was set to 1 because the scale was set to 1. But we can actually increase the scale here, and it'll increase the scale of our UVs to a different size that we may want. And really, we just kind of have to find that scaling that we really like. I think something like that can kind of work. I will say I'm not a huge fan of how this is creating these kind of like cross beams here. I think those should be slightly different in shade. So this is like the foundation. What we can do is we can go into edit mode again. I'm going to go to wireframe and we'll go to side view. I'm just going to select everything, but not selecting this top portion here. And I'm going to, let's see, we're going to take this foundation and then let's duplicate it. So now we've got another foundation. Oops. Well, first of all, let's create it that way. And then we open up foundation. And then we duplicate this foundation. And this is going to be called cross beams. And the cross beams material, I might add a saturation node in here. Hue saturation, that's what we want. Plug that into the color, plug that into our base color here. And then we'll set this to 0.5 with, that's all fine and dandy, but then let's take a color ramp is what we really want. No, not a color ramp. We want curves. So we'll take RGB curves and drop that in between and lift that up. So now we should get a lighter beam color here. I'm going to hit assign. There we go. Back to camera view and check out the render. Yeah, there we go. That's allowing that to stick out a little bit better, and it just makes it feel less mushy on the bottom here. We do maybe want the saturation to be more. No, I like the lighter beams. There was a video on YouTube with a thumbnail of Davy Jones saying this is the best era of CGI, and it got you thinking, do you believe that CGI has downgraded since the Pirates franchise? Okay, that is a topic, man. You know, here's the thing about Pirates of the Caribbean and then CGI today. I actually think CGI today is better than it ever has been. I think there's a couple things that go into it. I do think that people's opinions of CGI are very different now than it ever has been. When Davy Jones came out, I feel like it was kind of like this new wave of what could be done. And so what ended up happening was people were more excited for it. So their perception going into it was different than what people's perceptions nowadays are. And I think that's I think that is true. I also think Davy Jones is not a humanoid character. or it's humanoid, but it's not a human. And so when people are saying, "Oh, CGI is worse now," and then they point to like, I don't know, Rogue One or any kind of like CG human face replacement or something like that. The truth is that like nowadays we're trying to do stuff that we weren't trying to do before, and that is kind of I think kind of the big difference. I think that's a huge difference. I think right now if you looked at Avatar Fire and Ash and you like looked at that CGI, it's like that is so much better than Davy Jones was. Not to say Davy Jones wasn't good, but Fire and Ash, Avatar's Fire and Ash, that looks real, like actual real. And they have real like human looking people of crowds in the background, and you didn't know they were real. Every single set they had was fully CGI. Like that's how real it looks. The water, the fire, the drips of paint coming down someone's face, like that is so real. And I do think CGI is better. It's better than it ever has been. And you know, I guess that's a hot take because nowadays everybody, it's very easy to hate on CGI and stuff, but I disagree with that. I disagree that CGI has gotten worse. I think we're better now than we've ever been before. But that's just my opinion. It was 2 weeks ago now. Or was it last week? Last week I was at the Visual Effects Society. It was last week. Yeah. And they were showcasing the kind of like the work that was done this year. And I mean, I just think I was more impressed than I ever have been about how good CGI looks nowadays. And I mean, I don't know, that I think it's like if you really look at what we're doing, it's different. You know, I also think we're showing more CGI now, and there's also more CGI characters and in a single show. That could be it also. Budgets can be limited, and then so when you're limiting budgets and time, you know, you're going to get there is like we're doing things faster as well. And I think the faster you do stuff, I mean, you're obviously going to run into a problem where you have this output issue. And I do think that's kind of like an issue that, you know, studios are like, oh, wait, now we can have a full CG character. Great. Give me that in like 3 weeks. And in reality, when they worked on Davy Jones, they spent probably, I remember watching the behind the scenes on it, but I feel like they spent like a year and a half working on that. So it's just it's not apples to apples as much as I think a lot of people think it is. Okay, so we'll take this, plug this into the roughness now. Plug this into our normals. And I need to convert normal map, this into a normal map, and that's already into a bump. So that should be good. Now, what I want to do is kind of hide that for right now. We're just going to look at this. You can see all the textures are being stretched right here. So let's go ahead and just take everything, and then we'll do Smart UV. That's funny. Let's do follow active quads. Unwrap angle based. Cylinder. There we go. That's the one we want. Cylinder's good. But I'm just going to set the scale appropriately as well for this one. I don't know. I don't think CGI has gotten worse over time. I think nowadays people automatically hate CGI more though. And that has definitely changed. And so, you know, when you had Gollum before, I think people thought, oh, this is so insane. We've never seen anything like it. But nowadays you couldn't possibly do something like, oh, you can't, not that you couldn't possibly do it, but like, I think the impression of seeing something like that is just meh, you know? And it's like, we see good CGI all the time, but we don't recognize it because we're like, oh, well, that's just par for the course. I hate now when I search saturation, the first thing that pops up is mix color. I really want color to pop up first. That's all really good. It needs to be brighter. Okay. And now I want it to be, let's do mix color. I want a mix color node. And what I want to take is this kind of like grayish value we just created, and then let's multiply it by another value here. And this other value is going to be kind of blue. That's what we want. Let's make that a little brighter. Now we're creating kind of like this blue pipe on the bottom here. It's kind of working. It's kind of not working, but it's kind of working, Like we're certainly doing something, but I don't know if that's what I like. I don't know if I like it though. Yeah. Let's set this to a higher value. I just don't like it. Let's move on to some other stuff and we can come back to it. I think we're going to take the sides of this building here and we'll select this as white as well, but we're going to change the name from white to yellow paint. And then let's see if we can find a good material for it. And we can find like a painted wood texture. That's ideal, right? Because we really just want painted panels. Go to all paint, painted concrete. Green rough planks. I don't know if we want rough. It's not a matter of how well the CGI shots look. It's how well they integrate into the scene. It looks. You have the texture and more importantly, the lighting. All these things are working together. Yeah, I mean, that's true. That's 100% true. But I do think like the integration is still pretty flawless. Like, what was a movie you saw recently where you were like, oh, the CGI in this looks terrible? Like when you watched Gran Turismo, not this last year, but the year before, and they had all those CG cars, was it one time that you thought that those cars did not look real at all? Was there one shot where you're like, that didn't look real? Like all the best CGI that's come out this year, Avatar, Jurassic World, there was a movie called The Lost Bus, I'm trying to think of more, but like those are the first three that just like come to my mind. All three of those have flawless CGI in it. Beautifully done CGI that is far better than anything we've ever seen before. That is a fact. Like it's better CGI. So there are movies that probably have worse CGI than we've seen with like Davy Jones, but so you could maybe find one that like you could prove your case of being like, oh, see, we have a shot that's worse, but it's like we also have so many shots that are like way better. Like way better. And it's not because Davy Jones wasn't good. It's just the technology is better. Like, it's expected to be better. It's not like we just forgot how to do CGI. Now, the thing that you might be bugged up against is like, hey, well, Connor, I just don't think the shots look as good from a DP perspective. And it's like, okay, well, that's a style thing. And possibly, you know what? I could agree with you that there are different DPs. There's different storytelling of whether or not a character is justified in its existence. But we are, from a matter of like compositing and just doing work where you're like incorporating CG into a world, like, it is better now than it ever has been. And that's just because it's easier to do it now. It's faster to do it now, so we can see iterations better now. Yeah, I mean, that's, I don't think that's the disputation though. I think that what the argument could be that maybe you are pointing out is, hey, well, even though all of those things, I don't think that DPs nowadays are respecting the craft as much. And so maybe they're just not shooting things properly, and then it just looks bad. Like, for instance, I'll use this as an example. I think that, unfortunately, I was watching the VFX breakdowns for Fantastic Four, which came out this last year. And I just thought that the Fantastic Four VFX looked not good. But then when we saw the VFX breakdowns, I was like, oh wait, that looks really good. What the heck? And then I realized it was the color grade that happened after the VFX were done that kind of like made everything feel more muted, and you couldn't see all the details that they created in Galactus. I think the character's name was Galactus, the big bad guy. And it's like, once that happened, I was like, oh, so it wasn't the VFX artist's fault. It was the colorist's fault. The colorist and the DP sat down, and then they did what they wanted to do. They made it look like how they wanted it to look. But I think in the end of the day, it made the VFX look worse for it. You can't think of any films that had bad CGI that you've seen? All I can think of is Sharknado. Well, okay. Well, if you do think of anything, let me know. I mean, I just think like a lot of the people that do say that though, that are like, oh, you know, I didn't like this thing or whatever. I just think that every single time that happens, what they're arguing about is that they didn't like the implementation of something. And you know what? I guess I can't really argue if you don't like the implementation of something, but the truth is that's not always the fault of the it's not the fault of the VFX artists or any of that. It's just the hand that they were dealt from the perspective of other processes. Film is a team game. Like, it's not a team art, right? Like, it's not like an individual artist is painting a picture, or a photographer is taking a picture, and then that's the end of the art, right? Like, and then it just gets delivered. It's like in film, you have thousands of people working together on a single project. And ultimately, in the end of the day, you know, that can greatly affect the outcome just by, you know, some other artist wanting to do what they want to do. I guess that would be my point of view. It's usually the color grading, especially with Marvel movies. You wasn't a fan of the orange endgame battle. There's a lot of fire and magic. Yeah, and I mean, that's just the overall look, right? That's the look they decided to do inside of that. And I agree. I think like it's just kind of unfortunate because ultimately that is out of the control. And then what ends up happening is inevitably everybody says that it is the VFX that's bad, when in reality it's not really the visual effects that's bad. It's the other stuff. and then you kind of get like the VFX world gets screwed because everyone's like, VFX is what's ruining movies. And it's like, it's not visual effects that's ruining movies. It could be a number of things that's ruining movies. It could also be VFX, but I think like oftentimes people just immediately say it's visual effects when in reality it could be something else. All right, here's a fun trick. So I have to change this green paint color that we have here to the yellow that we want. So you could just use a hue and try to shift this and get the color value that you want. That actually is really annoying and difficult to do. So what I like to do first is create a gray scaled version of the shot. And then we're going to, so the operations really to changing color at all in compositing or anything is by first going back to the basics. So we're getting the shading values of this, which unfortunately is a little dark for me. I don't like how dark this is, and I don't want my yellow to be that dark. So what I'll do then after this is add in an RGB curves, lift up the gray value to get a lighter value. So you're removing the saturation. You are then lifting the shade value of it to a lighter value. And then we take a mix color node in our particular instance, drop that in, set the factor all the way to 1 for us, okay? That's the trick for this. And then we're going to use the multiply node. And now it's going to multiply this value against whatever this A value is. And right now it's multiplying kind of like it would be a full 1, which would not be doing anything actually. So multiplying 1 against another number would just give you whatever that other number is, right? That's basic math. But now what we can do is we can actually take this value of this color here, and then we can put it as whatever color we want. In our particular case, we just want this yellow. So we can actually even use our color picker here, drop in that yellow. And I might just even make it a little more yellow. I might also want it to be a little brighter. Let's lift the value up a little bit. Now you've got this really nice yellow color that is being multiplied on. And now you can adjust this very easily by doing it, desaturating it, changing the luminance value that you want here, and then multiplying the color ultimately that you would like as well. And there you go. Boom, you got yourself the exact color that you want without having to change the hue of it and all this crap. So very simple trick, honestly, not that complicated. I just wanted to share you how to do that. So if you ever have to do VFX compositing where they're like, hey, change this guy's shirt. He's wearing a blue shirt, but we want him to be wearing a green shirt. Well, changing blue to green, the exact green that they might want, could be a little bit more complicated because, you know, you're trying to get that blue out first. Really easy. Select the blue, desaturate it, and then honestly just put the green in there. And it'll keep the shadows exactly the same. It'll keep everything, the highlights and everything will be exactly the same. You're just basically changing the color of your input. But yeah, there we go. So now we've got ourselves a nice yellow house here. I think we're going to want this yellow paint on this as well. So let's go ahead and select it. Put yellow paint on here. Going to select everything and we'll do Smart UV unwrap. So ultimately everything is just Smart UV unwrapped. Now we only have the yellow done so far, and then we've got some weird somethings going on. So let's go ahead and check out our face orientations here. Just don't quite know. We've got no modifiers on this. Let's go to material preview real quick instead of the render view. Sharknado would look a lot better if it was better color graded. Yeah, I don't know if that would fix Sharknado. I don't know if that was the entirety of that problem of that film. Though, to be fair, I haven't seen Sharknado, so I couldn't tell you what could or could not have fixed that one. Let's go ahead and select the yellow paint on these guys back here as well. Why can't I? Oh, there it is. Yellow paint. I've seen shots from Sharknado, but I've actually never seen Sharknado, the film. I imagine it's not great, the whole film. Okay, I'm going to duplicate this, and then let's call this pink paint. Okay, and then we're going to want basically all the way up here to be pink paint as well. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of just we're gonna kind of select everything here. Although it wasn't Sharknado and like the movie Lava Girl, wasn't that like literally supposed to be bad though? I feel like they were just trying to be bad. Okay, I'm going to add in another material and then pink paint. Sign. You're just kidding. Oh, you think it's based on a true story? Shark Girl and Lava Girl? I don't know about that, man. I think the entirety of my like knowledge and understanding of what Sharknado is based off of like Corridor Digital's VFX of it, reactions to it. That's the entirety of my knowledge of it, which is not a great knowledge base, right? Like, it's like, you know, I don't know if that's the best way to be like, oh yeah, I know what that is. No, you don't. Do pink paint here, hit a sign. Just take a look at this. Oh, well, that doesn't help us. So anyways, what we have to do is now with this pink paint, I'm going to firstly, let's just use the color picker and grab a pink value from over there. And I might increase the saturation here. Let's turn off face orientation for right now. I don't like how red it is. So let's take this and then change the hue slightly to be more pink. Asylum are known for making terrible movies. I think they spent a couple months to work on every film they do, but apparently people really like working there because they don't take it too seriously. Oh, interesting. Is Asylum the company that did Sharknado? That's how little I know about Sharknado, okay? I'm not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. Why are these brighter up here? I just don't understand that. I'll get to it in a second, I suppose, but this needs to be yellow paint as well. Yeah, these guys are like, that's really weird that these are brighter. They should not be brighter. Do some smart UV unwrapping over here for these guys. I do like the brightness of these though. Oh yeah, if we remove the normal map, that'll get us that. I'm fine with that. Is there an object somewhere that's blocking the light? Well, if I remove the normal, it shows it correctly, which it should not change whether or not it shows it correctly. I will say, the thing about normals is that they're supposed to be non-color, they're not supposed to be linear sRGB, and that's not really a thing in my current config file that I have. So I might just leave the normals out of it. Let's take the pink. I don't think I like how saturated this is. Let's see. Let's lift that up a bit. And take the saturation out a tiny bit. That works really nicely. Okay. So this is now looking through the inside here. Go ahead and save that for right now. I'm going to hide all of those things. This will make it a little easier to preview and everything. We don't need to see all the balloons as we're working on this. We're just working on the texturing of the house right now. And then I kind of want the trim here. So let's go ahead and, whoopsies, just select this guy as well as this guy. Using displacement normals and displacement working similar, so it won't affect much if you remove one. Yeah, I agree. Okay, now I just kind of want like this wood trim here, so we need to find a good shader for that. It's kind of nice. Not a plank. This plywood almost, although I feel like plywood is not the texture you want on the outside of your house. What's up, Nickies? Welcome into the chat. How you doing today? Finally, some respect around here. Thinking that plywood is the closest shade of wood that I like. Baragon, listen. Yeah, I'm gonna use the plywood. No one will be the wiser that we are using plywood as our material. Plywood trim. Hey, it's a fixer-upper, okay? I would be happy to own a house that has plywood on the outside of it, okay? I'd just be happy to own a house. Let's do that. Let's hit assign to this guy. And then we're going to add some roughness in and our normals as well. And let's convert this to a normal map. Should be color that's being converted into a normal. Should theoretically work. All right, smart UV, unwrap that guy. Almost. It is stretching the lines there, so that's not good. That is a lot better. I actually quite like the scaling of that. Getting a house in LA, haha. Hey, hey. That wasn't very nice. But true, okay? But true. All right, let's use this same plywood trim that we have here for this guy. Now oh, interesting. All right, well, I suppose I have to select this whole face here. And deselect that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select the kind of like this trim all the way to the edges here. Oops, I don't want any of that stuff. I literally only want to select that, that, and then we can deselect all these side pieces here. And I'm going to have to do that again, but essentially I'm just going to hit the plus button until we are at the wall here. Should be good. Then I'm just going to have to deselect all that. Okay. Beargon Productions out here just crushing my dreams, okay? Crushing my dreams. What'd I ever do to you? Huh? Tell me I can't own a house. I don't like the realism of that, okay? Select all the way around our trim of our window here. I think we don't really need, we just need that inside of the windows. Oh. Do that. And then the top of the windows up here as well. Okay, so that's some pretty good. Let's go ahead and take this, and we're just going to select the plywood trim and hit assign. I do also want this guy. I'm just going to keep adding. I think that's fine. Plywood trim, assign. Go ahead and save that now and go back to camera view over here. Okay, we have problems, but we can fix it. Let's do selection here. I'm going to deselect that stuff. And let's do cube projection again and see what that looks like. I think that's about right. That's about what we want. I love it when a plan comes together. What can I say? What can I say? Let's get over to this chimney over here. I think we're gonna want this whole chimney selected and find ourselves a nice brick texture. Go over here to bricks. Do you have like these kind of like broken bricks? That would be the first time that you crashed my dreams. I do like this also, these mixed bricks. I don't believe you anymore, Beargon Productions. Either broken bricks, we could just do classic red bricks here. We could do mixed brick wall. So brick walls. Castle bricks. I like that one. This one is kind of fun. Yeah, this one's fun. Let's do it. My dream's already crashed. Can't come back from that. Let's go ahead and add a new material, though. I'm going to call this a brick. All right, there we go. Diffuse. Now, for whatever reason, every time I first try to import the displacement, it doesn't do it. Okay, it did this time. It was like the last couple textures I was doing, I was dragging it over, and every single time it would not drag it the first time I dragged it over. Okay. So let's plug these guys in and hope for the best. Roughness, normals, and then displacement. And then let's do a good old bump on this. And a normal map. It's almost like I should just use the button that automatically does this every time because I do it every single time. Cube projection, first of all. So that's going to get us in the right vein. The scaling is off though, so let's go ahead and add in our mapping. And plug that in over there and change the value here to something way larger. It's going to be way larger than that, I think. Actually, no. That ended up working out really well. Let's take this though, and we are going to select the bump here and then make sure, oops, not that bump. Go to settings. And then what we're going to do is say not bump only, but we want to do displacement and bump. That should allow us to control the amount of this. Should anyways. I've been having problems with this though, so maybe we don't do this. We'll just do bump for right now. We could add a modifier on here. So let's do this. We're gonna select this guy, make it its own object. And then this selection here, I'm going to add in a multi-resolution. And if we subdivide this, or I think simple it, what we're gonna do is what we're gonna see is more I could do it that way, but I guess I could also select everything and just subdivide like this. Just going to add a bunch, do one more, a bunch of topology to this thing. Then if we add in a displace here, we can create a new texture, if you will. And under our texture, it is going to be using image or movie. And we could actually use the exact same displacement that we have here. Though the scaling would be off because we're actually setting the scaling to 4 here. So realistically, what we really want is this to be set to 1, right? This makes it a little complicated. So all we have to do is go into our UV settings over here. We could go to our UV editor. And then we're going to scale this by 4, right? Because that's basically the exact same texture thing that we were doing over here. But now we can actually load in our brick displacement. And this will actually displace the bricks appropriately using our displacement node. We can do 0.1, and you can kind of see that happening over here. Should be using, let's see, directions, local, let's use UV. So now you're using the actual UV coordinates of the thing, and now it's doing it appropriately. So now we can just subdivide one more time maybe, and then we can get our brick textures using a displacement node, which wasn't working over here, but this is another way of going about doing it. The color and the height, you think probably nah. So I tried that the other day and it didn't work. I was doing this on like an actual job as well, and I was like, what is going on? I feel like I always was able to do this. You might be right, but I also just did it myself here. Boom. Done. Now we have a little bit more topology going on for this thing, and you get to dial it in more with this strength node. But there you go. There's your brick texture that you have. That honestly is probably already good enough. We don't need anything else. Let's go to our image editor again and just pull up our 2009 image. That's our brick texture that we have. Fantastic. And we got some roofs to do. We got some lovely roofs that we got a texture here, as well as the trimming on the front portion of our roofs. So let's see. Yeah, it is supposed to be set to non-color. That's what I was saying earlier, but unfortunately, because I'm using a custom color OCIO configuration, I don't have that as an option. And I really need to figure out how to do that, because I'm running basically ACES inside of my Blender. And this is because when I do visual effects, I tend to go a lot between Nuke and Blender. And I need the color spaces to match perfectly. And I do not want to use AGX. I don't want to use any of that stuff. I want to use legitimate ASUS configuration that I, use in my day-to-day. So that is an issue. It is an issue. And I will figure out a solution to said issue. So we'll call this white trim here. Probably, let's just assign this for right now. I have that selected. I am going to want... I'm going to want to do it again here. So let's select this now. Select the interior entirely. And again, select white trim, hit assign. And this one over here, I think we're going to want this as well. So there's the rooftop here. And select all of those interiors and bottom pieces here as well. And do that. Guys, I was doing some talks with my guy who's going to be my VFX supervisor on my shorts. And I'm like, just trying to figure out numbers, and holy cow, it is pricey to do a full CG creature, legitimately hiring all the right people. That is very interesting. I want to do it right though, because like I did Bad Omen myself, so I could definitely do another creatures CG thing myself, but I wanted to see how much it would cost to just hire all the right people and everything. And yeah, man, it's like just for like the CG portion of making the visual effects would cost like $16,000 versus, when I did it myself, obviously it was free. So it is very, very pricey, guys. Very pricey. It's just something that I've been working through right now. I know, oof, indeed. Oof, indeed. And I mean, like, and then you've got like the rest of the costs, right? So that I think that's where the issue is like, okay, well, if that's just an investment to do the whole thing and, get like proper things done, okay, I can maybe figure something out, right? Like we can maybe work through that. But then it's like, okay, it's also going to cost another $5,000 just for the shoot, and then another $5,000 for the sound design on it. It's like that stuff adds up very quickly at that point. Let's go to all here and then search paint. I don't want concrete. I guess I want, it's just the paint. Yeah, it is a lot. And you know what? And you do want it done right. I think that's the thing, right? So I don't think it's, like, so I okay, here's what we're end up gonna do. And I talked a little bit about it with my soup. I'm like, look, let's just shoot the thing. We'll get it in the can. And then in the end of the day, we don't have to do all the CG on it. I mean, we can choose to do it later, right? But we'll get to the point where like, all right, now we can maybe raise funding for it or something like that. I don't know yet. But the reason why I wanted to do the shoot at all was because I do have like this camera package that we're getting for this other short that I'm shooting. And I only get to redeem this camera package thing once. So I was like, well, if I get it for a full week and the shoot that I'm doing is only 3 days long, what if I then went ahead and shot something else back to back? So now I'm doing 2 shorts. One will be like kind of like a creature monster film, And then the other one is kind of like the psychological mystery, which, by the way, that script is over on my Patreon. I did upload that a little while ago. We made some minor changes to it, but it's, the script is over there. And I was like, okay, well, that could be interesting. What if I did utilize, that? And I haven't really, started really planning for it yet. It was just kind of like an idea that I floated because I was, we already have this stuff, might as well use it. And I don't know. The more and more I think about it, the smarter that idea is. It's just, then I was like, okay, now if we're going to go down this rabbit hole of like, I've got this really nice camera package. Well, then I would want the CG to be really good. Because I think that was one thing on my Bad Omen short that I just wished was slightly better was the CGI. And not that I think it was terrible by any stretch of the imagination, but it certainly wasn't like a professional movie level VFX. And then I was like, well, if it was, that's pretty cool. And then we can use that to our advantage later. But yeah, I don't know. It's certainly something that I've been thinking about, and I do want to document the whole process. So, I mean, it requires you to get like a professional 3D modeler, a character effects guy, an animator, a rigger, and then, I think that kind of like covers most, if not all of it. I might be missing something right now. But each one of those positions was going to cost like $2,500 to $3,000. So it's trying to figure out the right balance. And then I'm like, well, I could maybe do some of that stuff myself. Then you get that into the picture of like trying to figure that out. But then you're like, I'm back to square one of like, well, I could do probably the whole thing myself, but that's not the point, right? The point is not for me to do it. Let's change the roughness here to a 0.5 maybe. And just get the exact. Okay. You know what I don't like is the interior here. So let's I'm going to go into the inside of this house here. Hello? Anyone home? Sorry. Let's do it this way. I'm going to put that there, and then we're going to add a cube. Actually, we're going to delete that. Now we're going to add a cube. Then let's just put that like kind of where this window is. I'm going to select and delete only the face of this object. Okay. And then we're just going to kind of use this as a lighting trick. So we'll just put this all around the window here. You're going to out-direct Spielberg? I always do, man. I always go in thinking that, and then, then you realize that it's Steven Spielberg, and you're like, wait a second. He's like the greatest filmmaker of all time. Okay, so that right there will fix kind of like that lighting issue, and it just gives us the darker window. It was too distracting seeing the interior slats up there. I think it's because the back of this building doesn't have a wall on it, or why is it so bright? Actually don't know. Have a breakdown and secretly cry in the corner during filming? Yeah. Well, I don't think I would do that. I don't know. I think I'm good on that front. I've VFX supervised enough stuff where that kind of stress doesn't really get to me. Yeah, and I mean I've also directed before as well. Like I've directed a lot before. I directed a lot of theater and things like that. So this isn't really that much different. It's just what you're directing is different. Okay, we're going to join all of this together here, and these are using kind of like this difference there. I'm gonna put you guys on hold though. I need to just run to the restroom real quick. If you want to take a look at what I've got here though, we're gonna unhide everything right now. I'm gonna take a bit of a restroom break, but you guys can check this out. Don't go anywhere. I will be back. All right, I'm back, everybody. I feel like it'd be a lot of fun to direct theater play, chaotic, hectic, but a fun of chaos, a type of chaos. Yeah, I mean it's very different from directing non-theatric stuff, obviously. So like film and theater are fairly similar actually. Theater though has a lot more rehearsal time. And I think that's like the first kind of like big difference between the two. Yeah, I think that's good right there. And then let's go and select this guy. Let's do boom. There we go. But yeah, I would say that's like the biggest kind of like difference between the two. Plywood trim. Hit the assign button. Yeah, I loved theater. Do we want cube protection on this? I think so. Yeah. It's kind of okay. All right. So that's the house we've got up in the sky there. What I need now is the roof material that we're putting on top of this thing here. You were a spider in a school play? You don't know what the play was about. Well, that's not good. Does that kind of like defeat the whole point of being in a play if you don't know what it's about? Okay, the white feels pretty decent there. You know, we are having another issue with this window back here. So what I'm going to do is same thing. We're going to say cursor to selected over here. Let's create a whole new cube. Okay. I'm going to delete this face, only the face. And I want to select that same black material we created. Call this gray flag. And just push it in. That's going to give us a darker window there. Now we just need to do the same thing over here. All you remember is some lady was cleaning her house and she said, "You need to go." And we, three of us said, "Yes, ma'am. That's out of line." You nailed it. Was it fun? Did you like it? It's like a high school play or something like that, or like middle school or whatever. Okay, there we go. That fixes those windows there. So now they're less incorrect. Okay, now I just need to select this guy. Yeah, I was a bit of a nerd actually, or a theater nerd, I guess you could say. Because I did it in high school. I went to drama camp, guys, like when I was in high school, and then which I feel like just saying that is kind of cringy. So I went to drama camp for summer camp, and then I did in college. I knew you were a theater kid. Yeah. Well, I wasn't like the singing theater kid because we didn't do musicals. It was all drama theater. But yeah, I guess you could say I was a theater kid. And then I mean, okay, and I'm guilty of, and I feel like this makes you a theater kid. If you've ever been like ever said fabulous like that, that is a theater kid. And I definitely did do that. So I guilty. Um just that popped in my head. I was like, yeah, I guess I'm a theater kid. A little bit of a theater kid. I like these roof slats here, I think. Yeah, that makes you a theater kid. Um so I did theater, and then in college I studied speech education. So I was an education major to teach like speech in high school, and I could have gone on to get a master's degree to teach in college, but I did not. And then I also don't teach high school. So I basically just dropped out of that entirely. But I did theater in college, as well as computer science. Um, so it was a weird mix because it's like both nerd and theater, which is makes you like just a weirdly double nerd. I don't know how that's like a possible, you know? And then yeah, I mean, so in college I directed a lot of theater. That's when I got more into directing, was through all of that. Where did the one go that I was looking at 5 minutes ago? I really like that one actually. Roof Slates 3, I think it's this one. Yeah, it's okay. It's not great. It's not terrible. Go and download it. And then yeah, we'll grab this up here. Let's figure out how we want to go about doing this. I gotta select all of the, I guess, trim of this yellow that we're not keeping anymore. I need these to unwrap. I would love you to unwrap, please. Enjoyed drama class, but you didn't like acting. Definitely more of a history nerd. Well, that's good. History nerds are great. My sister's a history nerd. She's getting a doctorate in history right now. That makes me the idiot in the family. I'm gonna add a new material here. We're gonna call this roof. Let's go ahead and hit assign. It's like, you know, what's funny is after I did my film Bad Omen, there is I did get criticized for the historical inaccuracies, I should say, of my film. And one of them, it's hilarious because she was like, hey, because I built the set, right? She was like, hey, this doorknob is not period accurate. And I was like, no one will ever notice. And she's like, okay, well, it's not period accurate. You should get a period accurate doorknob. And I was like, no one will ever notice it. We'll be fine. And so then fast forward, I released the film on YouTube, and over the last few months, you know, I've gotten a lot of views on it, and someone finally left a comment, and they were like, hey, this doorknob is not period accurate. I was like, no freaking way. It was her alt YouTube account, maybe. It was her hidden YouTube account that I didn't know about. Her secret YouTube account. Or she paid someone to do it. I think that's what it was. I was like, no one would ever freaking notice the doorknob was not correct. The thing is like, I built the set and I kind of didn't care what the doorknob was, because it's like, out of all things, that's not the thing that I would be caring about right now, you know? There's a lot more fish to fry. Just... It's all good. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and hit the assign button to that as well. And assign. Okay. It's all pretty good. We will want this roof as well, but I feel like this is going to be a different texture, so let's not do that quite yet. But now if we go into edit mode over here, by deselecting everything, you were going to say, but I can forgive you. It's only a short film. It was a big budget Hollywood movie, different story. True. Also, fun fact, the style of the house is like Norwegian. It's not even like American, which is supposed to be a Tennessee cabin. So if you really want to start picking it apart, go for it. But like, there's a lot more problems to it than one doorknob. I'll tell you that. I will tell you that. All right, follow. Let's do smart UV project. No. I really wanted to unwrap it. Can we unwrap it? That should mostly do it, I think. And then do the roof slats. Let's even see if these are oriented correctly. So if I plug this in, oh my gosh, guys. That's actually worked somehow. I mean, the scaling's off right now, but the orientation of everything worked. Who knew? I love it too, because I have a buddy who like is a professional UV dude and like does that kind of stuff. And then I'm sitting here going, smart UV unwrap. Angle based, that's good. Okay. Just like project from view, and just like, you know, the most janky possible way you could possibly UV unwrap something is how I always go about it. That's how we roll, everybody. Okay, that's all good. Let's go ahead and add in coordinates mapping here, and we're gonna just plug this in so that way we can scale it down the professional award-winning director way. And don't you forget it, okay? Need that respect around here. Okay, that's looking pretty solid to me. Let's go to render view to see what it looks like. Yeah, that's pretty good to me. I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. And back to 2009 picture reference here. It's looking pretty okay to me. This kind of needs to get cleaned up over here. Let's see. And then we need a roof, honestly, for this guy. Thanks, Baragon Productions. I appreciate it. Hope to see you next week. Yeah, what do we want for this thing? I feel like it can't. It might do us good to just use the wood trim. Just for some consistency across right there. This up here, we're just going to pretend it's a roof, I think. Let's just duplicate it and call it BG roof. That way, we don't even think about it. It's just a line back there. I just didn't want this to be empty sky. Well, that's coming along, guys. That is coming along. I think we're going to want... Oh, I think we're going to want this guy. So let's select this white trim here. We're going to take the yellow paint here, and then we're going to do deselect. And then I'm going to just take this and then duplicate him down. Just while doing this, have realized that I would like to have another window slate thingy. That works for me. Maybe a little wider, actually. Go ahead and save that now. And great, we're making really good progress here, guys. I think now let's just do this section over here, and then we'll be chilling. We have there's no materials on this. I do think we want the plywood, same trim plywood material. So let's use that texture. Do plywood trim. And we're going to need to unwrap these appropriately. So let's go ahead and select everything and then do cube projection. And that actually kind of works. So now let's go ahead and do the same. We got to select all of these kind of like railings and everything like that. And then we'll select plywood trim. Should probably just join these together, honestly. So now let's get rid of yellow paint. Let's select everything and do cube projection. That's looking pretty good. Now let's get these railings here done. Oh, I didn't realize this was all joined together. That's crazy. So we'll go ahead and kind of find like a good angle here. And I'm going to select all the way around, and we'll just go all the way down here like so. And then we go over to our, well, first of all, we can also make them their own objects for easy selection in the future. And then now I'm going to find that plywood trim, hit assign. Let's do cube projection on them. Then that'll update the images here. And there we go. Honestly, that has really come together, guys. It is funny how there's like no dirt or anything. It's just like the building basically just lifted off the ground. No problem. No problem at all. Okay, that's feeling pretty good to me. So now let's do Alt H so that way we could see all of the stuff in here. What do you guys think with this so far? Any good feedback or things that pop out to you guys? This is what we've got so far on our Blender render. I think we should render this out, take it over into Nuke, and then do some comping over there. I think that would be really good to do now. That would be really good. I'm pretty happy with how everything looks. I don't think I missed anything. I think maybe this could be fixed as well. Kind of want this whole front trim here, I think. Just gonna deselect all of that for right now. I just want that piece. Looking pretty solid. Let's go ahead and now go over to our plywood trim, hit assign, and we're gonna do the same thing again. Cube project that. Oh yeah, a lot better. This is still a little janky. I think this is fine. Let's see, what is this? This is the roof here. It's something all right. Let's see. We have this wall. Is that the yellow that we're seeing through? It's the most undeveloped part of the house. I do think this is a problem though. So let's grab this all the way back here, and then this this kind of face here. Or edge, I should say. Let's go ahead and just go all the way across here. This face now, I think we should just use the trim, or we could do foundation. I think that's totally fine as well. and then do cube projection. Or smart UV unwrapping it. Let's go ahead and save that. Go back over to render view to see what that looks like. Oh, that's looking a lot better. Adds a little nice contrast between this and the front here, just those two sections. Yeah, I think that's working out really well. I think we should render this, guys. Should render it, and then we'll open it up in Nuke, and then finish up the comp. I don't think there's going to be that crazy of a comp that's going to go on with this, though. So let's go ahead and render it out. Oh, before we do, let's run over some of the settings over here. So some of the things that I like to do when rendering this, we're going to render this out at HD. That's totally cool. Let's do OpenEXR multi-layer. That's really preferable for me. I do PIZ compression. Don't care if we're doing overwrite at this moment. But the color management, we're going to want to make sure that this is on ACES CG over here. And you can double check this, of course, in the sequencer as well, over in the color management settings over here. Generally speaking, this is going to be your output. So if we wanted to, we'd say ACES CG here. And then that just makes sure that no matter what, it's going to be rendering out at ACES CG. All right, then over under our view layer settings, we're probably going to want to turn on, let's go ahead and turn on Z. And then let's also go ahead and turn on normals, as well as scrolling down, turning on crypto mats for objects and materials. It'll give me pretty much everything I need. Sometimes turning on UV as well is a great idea. But in this particular case, I think we should be fine. So let's go ahead and render this out. This might take a few minutes, hopefully not too long. Shouldn't be terrible. Should not be terrible. Yeah, 3 minutes. That's not bad at all. I'm gonna go ahead and open up Nuke here, and that way we're ready to go once this is finished comping. The house is a little dark, so we're probably gonna want to do a little bit of color grading to make it a little more poppy, you know, to feel like a good old PIXAR film. Nice and beautiful. Oh, is that 39 minutes? No way. We'll see if it actually takes that long. That's kind of crazy. Let's go to minimize this. And yeah, let's just kind of let this render here. It says it's going to take 30 minutes. I don't know if it's actually going to take 30 minutes or not. That's a really long render time, I feel like. For what it is. I mean, it's not that crazy of an thing that we're rendering, so I don't feel like it should take 30 minutes to render this. Although I imagine with the balloons that's one of the things that's going to take forever. But I don't know. I don't know. Did they release the official VFX Oscar nominations 2026? Beginning January 12th. Well, that was when voting was. That was last week. Did they not release the shortlist yet? No, they still have the long list. So it's Avatar, Fire and Ash, The Electric State, Formula One, Frankenstein, Jurassic World Rebirth, The Lost Bus, Sinners, Superman, Tron Ares, and Wicked for Good. You know, this will be an interesting year. I feel like there is a decent amount of good stuff. I think here's the thing. Out of that list, Frankenstein probably shouldn't win. You know, they took a lot of leaps to try not to be a visual effects film. So in that particular case, I feel like, hey, let your art department and your special effects team take the accolades on it. Visual effects was kind of just enhancing things. They did have a full CG character that was the Filleted Man, and that was cool, but it's nothing super crazy. So I don't think they should win for that at all. I don't even know why they were nominated. That's kind of crazy they were nominated. Then you've got, I guess another one that I don't know if it should be on this list is Sinners. They had some really good visual effects on Sinners, but it wasn't, you know, it just wasn't quite as good as maybe some of the other visual effects that are on this list. And I'll just share my screen over here. This is what we're looking at. But I think, like, out of all this, you've got Avatar, Fire and Ash. You've got The Electric State. That was pretty solid. I don't think the movie was good, which is probably why it wouldn't win. Formula One, the VFX were pretty insane. Jurassic World Rebirth, I mean, just the VFX breakdown on that was kind of nuts. Let's see. Jurassic World Rebirth visual effects breakdown. So we were looking at making of Jurassic World Rebirth. Dude, guys, this stuff's insane. Like, the visual effects in this, and the thing is like, I was there at the Visual Effects Society when they were talking about this stuff. Their whole thing was that it's just not as impressive because we've seen dinosaurs before. But I feel like the stuff they're doing now on the dinosaurs is so insane that kind of like takes it up a notch. But, you know, Superman had some really crazy VFX. When I watched Tron Ares, I literally told my buddy as we were watching it, I was like, I think this will be nominated for Best Visual Effects. A Wicked for Good, just like last year, was up for VFX. They did some great VFX in it. I just don't know if it's like when you compare this to other stuff, this is going to be in top 5, right? This will be a top 5 visual effects. So when they release their short list, I suppose what I think the short list will be is probably Wicked. We'll do Avatar, Fire and Ash. Okay. Jurassic World Rebirth, The Lost Bus, Superman, and is it Tron or is it going to be Wicked? I think a lot of this will play into like how well the movies were perceived and everything. And I think Wicked was perceived better than Tron was. And so it's gotta be Wicked, right? Like, would that be it? So I said Avatar, Jurassic World, Lost Bus. I feel like that's pretty, like, Jurassic World's the only one I don't feel super comfortable about now. I kind of feel like it could go Jurassic World, but it also could be Formula One. You know? Like, I feel like it could be Formula One. Because Formula One's VFX were insane, guys. Like, every race was like full CG. You know, again, but was the movie well received, and is that going to make a difference? The thing is, The Lost Bus is not a huge movie. It has Matthew McConaughey in it, but it is about the Paradise Fires in California, and you know that's going to make a bigger splash. And the VFX in it, I wish I could show you guys. I just don't have access to it because they're not out. But the Lost Bus VFX are insane. They had full CG, like, you know, fire trucks with all the backgrounds completely recreated because they would film on random roads and just like replace everything. It was insane. So the voting begins on 12th and concludes on the 16th, which was 2 days ago. Nominations for the Academy Awards will be announced on the 22nd. So we have that to look forward to. That's going to be Thursday, which is very cool. I don't know what time that is. If that's like a time that I could live stream, maybe we should do a live stream on the the 22nd. That would be really cool. Just to talk through some of the stuff that's coming out. Yeah, and then they got some more information here about the voting process. But the interesting thing though is I really think so. Avatar for sure. Okay. I think Superman for sure. I'm thinking Lost Bus for sure. And then oh man, guys. This is rough. This is rough. I feel like Wicked's gonna get it just because it was a blockbuster. Tron had some really good VFX in it. I could see it happening. But I mean, for sure, Sinners is off the list. For sure, Frankenstein's off the list. And more than likely, for sure, Electric State's off the list. I am surprised, actually, out of this top 10 that Badlands isn't on here. I feel like Badlands should be on the top 10. I feel like it should be top 10. That's crazy it's not. It's very sad it's not. I think it should be here over, probably over Sinners. Definitely over Frankenstein. I think Badlands should be on this list. I'm actually very surprised. The Badlands VFX is really crazy what they did. Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and save this out. We're going to save this image here. We'll go ahead and save this to the 3D out folder here. And let's call this just call it the name of our project here. I'm going to actually call it 18 version 1. And we'll do override just to make sure it's ACES CG here, and then go ahead and save that image out entirely. Okay, so now if we open up Nuke, we're going to go ahead and pull in that render that we have here. So let's go all the way over to our 3D out folder, grab our EXR and drag it in. Now, because we did multi-layer EXRs, first a couple of things. We're going to tag it as ACES CG. We're going to make sure it's tagged as ACES CG inside of our Nuke comp here. But in order for us to preview it, you'll notice that we do actually have a bunch of different layers that came in, including a view layer combined. So what we need to do is we need to shuffle this view layer combined into our RGBA channels in order for us to preview this accordingly. Now, there's a couple things that I'm going to want to do. First of all, let's go ahead. Let's preview this at Rec 709. It's going to be a little bit brighter. And then let's go ahead and add in an exposure node. I just want to lift the exposure a little bit because we're overall bringing the brightness of everything up, making it a little less contrasty for our image here. There's a few things that we're going to want to do. Doing this. Let's see. Sorry, I had to fix something on my desk. But there's a few things that we're going to want to do. I think that the color of this is just not quite right. So we will need to select just kind of like the yellows and adjust this, right? Because a lot of times in animation, this is one thing that you're going to always need to kind of do is match, you know, the important elements and characteristics of certain things. And if we go ahead and preview this, we can actually see that our crypto mat allows us to select all of these different objects. But right now it's allowing us to select different objects, which isn't super useful to us because we have a lot of different objects for our yellow paint. And we realistically only want to select one, which is the yellow paint. So if we swap this over to crypto mat material here, that'll allow us to basically be able to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And now you're going to see that everything over here has a lot less colors. And what that means is using the picker add tool, we can go ahead and just select yellow paint, which is our matte list, which is actually the color of everything here, right? So first of all, that is hilarious. I just realized that this is yellow paint back here. That's not good, but will anyone notice? No, so we're not going to change it. But we do have our crypto mat here. This gives us an alpha of everywhere that is essentially our stuff, right? So we're going to do that. I also want to make sure that we're not doing anything with these windows. We might unfortunately have an issue with the fact that our windows are semi-transparent. And because of that, it's going to give us kind of something incorrect here. I kind of want, maybe I won't be able to select our, oh, here we go. I don't think I'll be able to select our window object, but I could maybe select our, no, I won't be able to. That's unfortunate. Can I say window? What is the name? I mean, if you know what the name is, you can literally just type it in. So if we select this guy and glass, right? Let's call this glass. So we're going to go ahead and type glass in. That should give us the material of our glass here. But it's also going to make sure these are grayed out, which is not necessarily what we want. But we can work with this, right? So these are all the areas in which our windows are kind of happening. Let's use the grade node now, and then we're going to set this to alpha. And I want the white point to be set to kind of like this gray. And now if we go ahead and set that, it's only going to be grading our alpha to basically clamp everything down here, right? So what we really wanted was all of these values to be a lot brighter. We can go ahead and even make some further adjustments if we want to. So really what we're trying to do is clip this out. We want this value here to be 1, right? We want this value to be 1. And right now, if we do this, our value is set to 0.9914, which isn't quite correct. So if we go ahead and do that, that sets it to a value of like 2.4. So we don't quite need to be that bright. The reason why you don't want to, you kind of want to be careful with how you're doing this is because it's going to grow your mask, and we don't necessarily want that. So I'm just going to set this white point to a 0.24 on the channel of the alpha. And if we select white clamp, that's going to make sure that this is all just set to 1. And the number that I'm really looking for here is this value down here of the alpha, that it's just set to 1. And I'm going to just check all of my windows here, and they're all just set to 1. That's all great. That's all fantastic. Beautiful thing. All right, fantastic. So now we have our window crypto mat, but we also have our body of paint crypto mat. I'm going to add a merge node in now, and we're just going to take this crypto mat and then we're going to stencil it out. So I'm going to take that, we'll stencil that out. So now I've got only my paint that I wanted. Fantastic. That was a lot of work just to get to that stage, but it's okay. We are making it happen. I'm going to also just clean this up as we're going along here. That way my stuff doesn't look terrible. So now we have our yellow paint mask that we created here. We can actually use this to grade our stuff. So if we go back over to our main image that we're previewing, I'm going to add a grade node in, and then I'm just going to drop that in over here at the end of our stencil. And this will allow us to kind of make some really nice adjustments to our stuff. So first of all, you'll notice that now I can control just the area in which that yellow paint exists, which makes it really nice. We can do a couple things. So first of all, you're changing your luminance, and then we can also just change our saturation as well. So if we want to make this a little bit more yellow, we can. And then just that right there just gives us a lot of control over our house. Whereas we had kind of like this dull, muddy yellow before, now we've got like this really nice, vibrant yellow. This is something that, like, you know, PIXAR movies are going to have, is like kind of like this really nice looking yellow image. And that's just through creating a few of these inputs. We're taking our crypto mat of that, and then we're taking the crypto mat of our windows, and then using our grade node with it set to alpha. We can go ahead and then just multiply that, and you can really see that happen here in the alpha channel specifically. And then we're just stenciling it. And then now we've got that mask that we're feeding into these two things. So fantastic. Now we've got a pretty nice looking yellow paint color that's going on here. There's a couple other colors that we want to fine tune and get exactly where we want them. Probably this pink as well, right? I think the pink is something that we will want to adjust. And you can really see that over here, you know, like it's kind of has that more baby bluish. It's not baby blue, but like that baby pink, right? It's that kind of, you know, kitty color that that is very attractive, right? So let's go ahead and save our comp right now. I'm going to go ahead and save this over here real quick. So we'll go ahead and copy this real quick and hit the save button. We're going to go to our live stream folder, streams, latest date, and then I'm going to put this under comp, call this version 1. There we go, save. We're going to add another crypto mat now. Okay, so that was just one crypto mat for the yellow. Now we're going to want a crypto mat for the pink. And let's go ahead and into here again. We'll select crypto mat material. And this time we're selecting kind of like this pink wall that we have. And, you know, I don't think we need to sub anything out because fortunately for us, none of our windows are seeing anything through it from this angle. And it's mostly because we actually have that kind of like black cube that was through those windows. We could have done that on all these other ones and it would have done the same thing, but unfortunately didn't do it for every window. So it doesn't really matter terribly much. But now if we go ahead and add just like a dot all the way down here, if I add another grade node, we're going to just adjust the luminance first on this. So we'll go ahead and preview that again. And we're going to change the gain here to be a little bit brighter. We don't want it to be as muddy of a color. And then let's go ahead and change the saturation next. So same thing, just add in a saturation node with a little bit of a boost on that. And that gives us this really nice kind of like color. I do want to adjust this slightly even more. That's pretty nice. Let's take the saturation down a little bit. So it takes it kind of like that from that muddy pink to kind of like this more vibrant pink color that we have here. And that looks a lot better, guys. Let's go ahead and save that. So really what we're doing is we're first adjusting our exposure, but like taking our image from Blender and then kind of just giving it a lot more color to it in the areas that we really want to. Now we want to draw our eyes to kind of like this section of the image. And this is where like some nice color grading can come in. What I want is another grade node to kind of be added down here. We're going to drop in a roto node. And now firstly, we're probably going to set our scene settings over here, our project settings. We're going to set this to HD 1920 by 1080. But now let's go ahead and when we do that, this roto node BG layer basically is going to be the size of our image. And I just want to create a little tiny bit of a vignette here. So if we draw in this shape, that'll allow us to kind of like darken that area. So if I take the gain now and like lessen it, you'll see kind of like this darker area over here. So we can just drop in a blur node, add a lot of blur to it. And, you know, we probably don't want as much. We just want a little bit. It's just to create a bit of a horizon almost of our image, but also kind of like draw our eyes to a very specific part of the image as well. Create some nice variation to everything and makes it look a lot more professional. So there we go. And let's go ahead and just draw another little dot there. That is our mask. I'm just going to put that over here. Okay, fantastic. Now we got that lovely grade node in, kind of like creating the variation in the sky now. One thing that we do want is all of these balloons here to pop a little bit more. And we can do that through another crypto mat, honestly. So let's go ahead and just add another crypto mat in to our ever extending layer of crypto mats. And now if we go ahead and preview this, I kind of want all of these to line up. It's just my OCD killing me here. But now we're probably not going to want to change this to material, though. You can do whatever you want in this particular case because it is just one material. And we want to select all of these balloons up here as an object. And if we go ahead and add in a saturation node, which is all we really want right now, We can just drag that all the way over here and we get our dot all the way down. Now this saturation node now will allow us to just make these balloons pop a little bit more. They go from more kind of like this like dull photorealistic colors to like a little bit more of a pop to everything. A little bit more chaotic and beautiful. Let's go ahead and keep that there. Next up, we want to build kind of like a little bit more atmosphere, or not atmosphere, but I guess it is a bit of an atmosphere type thing. And we can do this by creating kind of like this nice like glow fall off to stuff. What I really like to do is just throw a glow node in here and boom, it's done. No, I'm just kidding. This right immediately will make it look like kind of like a dream sequence thing, which is not what we're really going for. But what we really want is to decrease the tolerance of what we're looking at. So if you do something like 0.02, that'll decrease the tolerance quite a bit. And then you can see exactly what it's doing when you add effect only. But now it's like, okay, let's go ahead and decrease the brightness of this. We don't want it to be super bright. We also don't really want it to be super saturated. So let's go and just half both of those things. What we're doing is adding an overall glow to the entirety of our image here. And it's going to be maybe a 20, I think is pretty nice. And then through this, we can take this guy and we'll just merge it back. Oh my gosh. We'll just merge it back over top of our image here. And we need to select a lovely little, probably a, let's use a screen for right now. And then this is going to create all of this like nice glow over everything. I probably want to decrease the size of this. Something like that. And you can kind of see this bloom happening here. But now it's too much. So we can actually mix this back, right? Like we can control the amount that we are going to be adding over top of everything. And the thing is we also might want not the sky to be blooming. Because I think the sky already has a nice feel to it. So let's take another crypto mat. Let's add another crypto mat that we're going to drag into our overall stack from our render. And if we go preview this, firstly, it's looking at objects, which will make it a lot easier because there's only so many objects. There's actually less objects than there are materials. Because a lot of our materials were on just the one object. So if we go ahead and do that, just select everything here, and let's go ahead and do it real quickly. It's not too bad. I think I need to figure out what the name of these cubes are on the inside here. This is called. Well, that material is called gray flag, but this will be cube 14. So I need to open up my crypto mat list here. Call this cube 14. I need to figure out what these are. Just want to hide that. Hide that. This is cube 16. Oh, these windows, right. That's what we're missing here. Let's Alt H. And then this one is called plane 3. I don't know why it makes it so it's harder to select. Whoopsies. It's harder to select those in the crypto mat. This is just called plane. But it's easy enough if you just copy the names of the stuff over. So we're going to call it plane. Probably call it plane.001, plane.002, so on and so forth. We've got 4, and then 5. I think that's everything. I just assumed those were the names because why wouldn't it be? Okay, that's great. And then let's go ahead and select our balloons up there as well as our wires here. Now, why did we go through and select everything on this crypto mat? Well, unfortunately, the sky when you're doing crypto mats out of Blender is not selectable. And that can be annoying. However, in our particular case, it's not the worst thing in the world because we didn't have that many objects. I am doing this New York scene right now, and it does not allow you to do it this way. So this is quite a bit nicer, I will tell you. So we're going to use this merge node after this glow here. And we're probably going to just use a mask. I think that's what we want. But before we do the mask there, actually probably do it before the glow. So we're basically saying, hey, well, actually even better. Wait a second, delete that. So we have this glow node. We can grab this mask option and just say, hey, only do this where this is. And so then now when you merge it over top, should be, maybe not. Maybe we do have to do a merge node here. Let's set the A input to that. Remove this mask option and then say mask. So now you're only looking at kind of this. And then now when you add it back over top, you're only adding glow to your buildings here. Yeah, that's the way to do it, guys. So we use the mask before the glow, which then isolates just this area, creates a alpha over black. And then we can then say, hey, right, add the glow to this thing. And then now we screen that back over top of everything. And beautiful. So that just adds this kind of like overall bloom to everything. I think we might want to do another one. So let's go ahead and add another glow node in. Okay. So we'll do another glow node. This time we're going to set the tolerance to something quite a bit higher. We'll do like 0.5 on our tolerance. And again, if you see effect only, you'll be able to see only the areas in which it's doing the tolerance. And obviously the larger this is, the more isolated it's going to be. So we're just really selecting all the areas in which the sun is really blasting out the kind of the building, right? So let's go ahead and add this glow node in again. We're going to do the same exact thing. We don't want the sky to get any of this effect done on it. So we'll just throw another merge node in, setting this to mask. And then now if we go and just clean that up with that there, you can see this glow node is now only affecting these areas here. So if we add another dot in with a merge, we can merge this back over top of everything. And what we want is to then say, hey, let's use probably a plus. You do a plus, or you can also do a stencil again, or not stencil, a screen again. So if we do screen, it's going to create a little bit different of a look. So we'll keep with screen for right now. But this glow, let's go ahead and set some of the settings here. So our tolerance, we're keeping that at a 0.6. Now, this is where we might want a little bit more saturation to it. So let's go ahead and add like 0.75 to both of these things here. And then if we set the size here to quite a bit smaller, you'll see that this is now just adding in kind of like this really tiny amount of glow. And we can control the amount that we want again through this merge node here. So this is we're probably going to set this to a lot less. Let's see, let's look at this. Probably about right there is pretty nice. So now if you're previewing that, that's going to give you this kind of like nice. And if you really think about it, the sun is like hitting this thing hardcore. So it makes a lot of sense. I think though our color here, let's keep the saturation at a 1. And then let's also keep the saturation on this one at a 1. I don't want it to desaturate our image. It's probably more photorealistic. Actually, it is more photorealistic to have your objects be less saturated the more you have the brightness of it inside of your scene. But since we are doing kind of like this animated film and we want it to feel lively and colorful, I don't want the saturation to be changed all that much from that brightness there. All right, great. That is pretty solid. Let's go ahead and hit the save button there. There's a couple other things we could do. I think something I do like to do every now and then is throw a lens distortion node in. Add a little bit of a distortion here. This is a redistort, essentially. If we were doing it that way, I don't... That's the right way. There we go. So if we do that, we're going to get some weird edges that are being created here. I could add a little bit of a transform here to the outside edges to not see any artifacts. Wonderful. So now what we're doing is we're kind of like adding a little bit of a distortion to the overall image here. And that will create more of a photorealistic effect on your renders. Of course, normally you want to match like a real life lens. In our particular case, we are not mapping to any real life lenses. We are actually just inventing our own grain, or not grain, but our own image here. Okay, so that right now I think looks pretty nice to me. If we check it against our reference, you know, I think ours is actually pretty nice. That's a little lower quality, but I think this is, it's really solid. I think it works really well. We don't need the Z pass. I rendered it out just to see if maybe we want it to do something with like kind of adding some depth, but I don't know if we're going to want to do that. Instead, what I might want to do is just throw a regrain in here just to get a little bit of regrain. That's just kind of like your last finishing touches that you're going to do on your render here. So yeah, so I think that is the render, guys. Overall, I feel pretty good about it. Like we created something pretty nice here. I'm going to throw a crop node at the very end just to crop it. Looks like got some edge issues here, maybe. There we go. So now when we I just scaled that up a little bit. Do that. Beautiful. We're only adding distortion to the areas in the middle of the image, and we're bringing out some of the edges here, but now it kind of fixes all of that. So, yeah, feels pretty good to me, guys. What do you guys think? Not sure who all is still here, but that's feeling pretty solid. I think it turned out really nicely. This is how to kind of do everything without using the virtual camera inside of Nuke. It's just like kind of like all built in. I do think this works really nicely to add like kind of that life to it. It's one of my favorite tricks inside of Blender. But yeah, I mean, this is how you take this image inside of Nuke and make it look, I think, really solid. Like, it looks pretty nice here, guys. Yeah. These cancel that real quick. These project files will be available over on the Patreon. So if you guys want these project files, those will be up over there. Can I not close that? There we go. Both the Nuke script as well as the whole Blender file, which is going to be completely shaded and everything. So go ahead and feel free to check that stuff out. This looks, I'm pretty happy with it. I think it turned out really nicely. I'm going to post this over on my Instagram today. And yeah, guys, this is really sweet. Like, pretty happy with how it turned out. I was a little concerned for a minute there, you know, but ultimately, in the end of the day, we got it. We made it work. So I will go ahead and render this guy out. We'll upload all the project files and everything. I think I'm going to be back next week. I will be out of town, so I will be in a different place. But I'm going to figure it out. Like, I want to make sure that we live stream, especially since I've got another new Patreon subscriber yesterday. So, you know, that's always a good reason for me to not skip out, is when I have Patreon subscribers, because I'm like, oh, well, I can't, you guys are paying for it. I can't miss it. So we're going to do it. We're going to make it happen. But these project files, of course, are located over on the Patreon. You guys can find them over there. I want to give a special shout out and thanks to these wonderful Patreon subscribers here who help make this channel happen and give me encouragement each week to go live. But I think that's it for me today. Part 3 and done on this this live stream series of creating up inside of Blender and comping inside of Nuke. Again, if you guys want those project files, you can go grab them. I hope to see you guys over on the Discord. Link to that is also in the description below. And yeah, I mean, I'm really excited to be back in the swing of creating these streams. Now that work has really kind of slowed down to the extent that I am able to do this stuff, I'm able to do all this. Okay, so next week I'm gonna try streaming. The week after that, we'll see what ends up happening. It's a little more complicated because that day I have a gala that I'll be going to in the evening. So if I do a stream, it might only be like an hour, maybe 2. I'm not quite sure yet. But yeah. Anyways, thank you guys so much for sticking around and watching. Really appreciate it. We hit 5,000 subscribers. Very exciting. Yeah, I'll see you guys next week with another live stream. If you guys have any recommendations of what you want to see, leave a comment below. Would love to hear what you guys would like to see. All right, guys, I'll see you over in the Discord. Stay creating. Peace out.